people react. I find it's a bit like sustainable development, a phrase at which many people quietly gaze over and switch off. So here's the first thing: don't switch off. Climate change isn't just words, it's a real thing. And the man-made climate change is a really very scary real thing. The rise in global temperature over the several decades is a matter of public record. This is an overwhelming scientific issue that can only be explained by one thing: the rise in greenhouse gas emissions caused by human activities. Some people say that climate change is natural, and we shouldn't worry. But answer to that is that we have naturally occurring climate change since the Earth was formed. But none of the natural causes of climate variation, from the sun's output, the tilt of the Earth, volcanic activity, or emissions from rotting vegetation, can account for the warming we observe today. There is only one thing that can: the emissions from fossil fuels caused by human activities over the last 200 years. The concentration of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere has increased by nearly 30% since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Here's another inconvenient truth. Not only is global warming happening, it may be speeding up too. The 20 warmest years on record have all come since 1995. The 5 warmest years have all been in this decade, the 2010s. 2016 was the hottest year since records began. The environment suffered badly. Numerous species, habitats, birds, trees, and aquatic life all were affected by the hot conditions and high demand for water. The Environment Agency responded to a 330% increase in drought-related incidents as our teams acted to protect wildlife and rescue fish struggling due to their low river flows and low oxygen. This kind of thing won't happen every year, but it will happen more frequently, and it will happen even worse. Most of us enjoyed this summer's exceptional weather, but by 2040, it is likely there won't be anything exceptional about summers like the one we just had. The records will keep trembling. Exceptional may be the new normal. Global warming is another one of those deceptive phrases. It doesn't sound that threatening, especially to those who live in the cold northern parts of the world. Shivering. It sounds rather appealing. Who wouldn't want a bit more sun and the weather a few degrees warmer? But the phrase is misleading because it doesn't identify what will actually happen when the globe warms. The answer to that question is that the tropics will be hotter and drier. The high latitudes of the UK, for example, will be hotter and wetter. We will have wetter winters, and extreme rainfall events will become even more extreme. This is already happening. Sea levels will rise significantly, perhaps by up to 1 meter in places by 2100. As waters warm and take up more space and our glaciers and land-based ice sheets melt, all of these changes in climate will have consequences. That means more frequent and more extreme flooding and coastal erosion caused by those wetter winters, heavier rain, stronger storms, and rising sea levels. That threatens all of us because floods destroy lives, livelihoods, and communities. More water shortages and high drought risk caused by the hotter, drier summers and less predictable rainfall. That could do deep damage to our economy and especially to our environment. The scandal is not that the climate change is made up. The scandal that it's not. And that while a lot is already being done to tackle it, we are still not doing all we could. Why is tackling the climate change not at the top of everyone's agenda? Partly, no doubt, because most people have busy lives and other things to worry about. Partly, because the effects of changing climate tend to be invisible and incremental until they are suddenly catastrophic. And maybe also because of the words we use. Language matters, you know. So here's a final thought. If we change words like climate change and global warming, since they have become a turn-off for most ordinary people, maybe we should change them. Perhaps we should talk instead about what those things really mean. Killer weather, a world underwater, a more tainted future. Many people might not get out of bed to fight something that sounds vaguely technical and non-threatening, named climate change. But pretty much all of us would do so to protect our loved ones, our homes, and our livelihoods, and especially to build a better world. In conclusion, climate change is way too good. So let's tell it like this. Let's tackle it together. Let's redouble our efforts. Over the last 2 decades, humans have comprehensively demonstrated that they can change the climate. But they have changed it for the worse by doing the wrong things. Now let's show them we can change it for better by doing the right things.